There was a day in 2011 when I'm told I was the highest person on Earth. Literally. On that day, I traveled to the space equivalent altitude of 70,000 feet.
Thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow.
It was a voyage to the edge of infinity. For a few minutes that I will remember for the rest of my life, I stared through the frost formed on the canopy of our aircraft as deeply as I could into forever. I'm Gary Sinise, and this was my high flight.
Thank you so much.
There will be a time on Wednesday when you're the highest person on Earth.
Congratulations on that. Yeah. You got it. That'll be good for the wall. How are you? I'm Gary. Thank you.
Over the years, I've been blessed with many opportunities to visit our servicemen and women in the distant and often dangerous places where they live and work. In 2010, through a friend of mine who worked for the USO, I was invited to take a flight on the legendary U-2 spy plane. As enthusiastic as I was, I didn't fully realize all that a U-2 flight involved. By the time I boarded an airliner to return home, I would have met a group of people and flown to a place I would carry with me for the rest of my life. Beale is an 86,000-acre base that was opened in October of 1942 as an Army training site for armored and infantry divisions. It also served as a prisoner of war encampment during World War II. It transferred to the Air Force in 1948. The 9th Reconnaissance Wing is a highly specialized group of more than 3,000 personnel in 4 groups: the 9th Mission Support Group, the 9th Medical Group, the 9th Maintenance Group, and the 9th Operations Group. And Beale is headquarters for our U-2 program. The U-2 Dragon Lady is one of the most amazing defense systems ever developed by the United States. She is a baby boomer. She was born in the 1950s when we began to realize just how little we knew about the newly emerging superpower, the Soviet Union. Once the USSR became a nuclear power, it became a matter of national security that we find a way to carry out reconnaissance over her. Doing that meant flying at an altitude higher than any defensive aircraft or surface-to-air missile could reach. That meant flying to a height considered the very definition of space. Design of such a watershed airplane became a priority of the legendary Kelly Johnson at Lockheed Martin's Advanced Development Programs, better known as the Skunk Works. Johnson was an aeronautical genius who developed over 40 aircraft including the P-38 Lightning, the P-80 Shooting Star, the F-104 Starfighter, and the SR-71 Blackbird.
The U-2 program, like many successful military programs, began in the political environment. So after World War II ended, obviously political tension develops between the Soviet Union and the United States. There was very little known about the interior of the Soviet Union. So in 1953 to 54, the United States secretly ballots a program to produce an airplane that can fly above the suspected ranges of surface-to-air missiles at that time. And Clarence Kelly Johnson and his skunk works come out, and he says, I can take an F-104 Starfighter. I can take that fuselage, and I can take the wings off, and I can marry it to extremely efficient glider wings, high aspect ratio wings, long, thin wings that are extremely efficient up high. Their target altitude was 66,000 feet. So the first U-2 flies in 1955, and in 1956 we employed it operationally for the first time for the overflight mission of the interior of the Soviet Union. May 1st, 1960, when Gary Powers was shot down, did two things. One, it exposed the U-2 program. Khrushchev made it so. And the second thing it did, even in that particular airplane's demise, was confirm for us that the Soviets did in fact have missiles that could reach that high. And really through the ingenuity of its engineers, its pilots, we've taken this Cold War system and morphed how we employ it so that it becomes relevant and effective at pretty much all levels of war.
In the over 50 years of the U-2 Dragon Lady's existence, barely 1,000 pilots have ever flown her.
So this wall is all of our solo wall. Every pilot that has soloed the jet, been alone and unafraid in the U-2, has his name and his solo number up on a plaque.
On another wall in Beale's Officers Club are the portraits of those who have lost their lives while serving in the U-2 program. This is truly sanctified ground. I was starting to understand what a rare opportunity I was being given. The chance to join the High Flyers Club, to go to the top of the Dragon Lady's ride, 70,000 feet. That's twice as high as any commercial airliner flies. It's 40,000 feet higher than Mount Everest, the world's tallest mountain. If it all goes well, for a few incomparable minutes, I will be the highest human on the planet.
There you go, bud. Thank you for serving. Thank you. Squeeze in.
After all these years of traveling in support of our troops, it is likely that I've been on more military bases than many of those who actually serve in the armed forces. I'm impressed with every visit. Our bases are special places, islands of efficiency, productivity, orderliness, and civility. They are places that stick with you, that inspire you to do a little better and be a little better when you return to your own neighborhood. It was a great welcome to Beale. The first steps you take to get to 70,000 feet are toward the flight surgeon's office. This whole adventure can end right here.
So for a high flight or high altitude flight, things we look for include one, making sure that they'll fit into the ejection seat and can safely eject. So it's unique to each airframe, has different parameters, and so we just got to make sure that they're kind of meeting the standards for that, and that's the first thing we look at. Second one relates a lot to decompression sickness, the idea of kind of going from a high pressure situation up to a low pressure area. When that happens, we have gases in our body that will kind of off gas into our bloodstream, much like opening a bottle of Coca-Cola or product like that, where you can then get a bunch of bubbles that pop out. And as a result of that, it can lead to some problems that we would have to later use a hyperbaric treatment or a hyperbaric chamber to treat. And things we also want to look at is because gas expands, if there's your sinus issues going on or they can't clear those areas, or if they have dental pain, dental pressures, again, that gas in those areas can expand and create a lot of problems. So we wouldn't want them to fly if we had those issues in the mix.
It's all good?
Yep.
To be honest, I do have a few problems with my ears and sinus, and I have never been to 70,000 feet before. I'm anxious to go, but I'm also a little apprehensive.
Mr. Sinise, this is your 1042. It's your clearance to fly. Go up to altitude and get on the plane.
Great, I'm good to go.
You're good to go, sir. Have a nice flight.
Great, thank you.
70,000 feet is a hostile environment for human beings. At that altitude, a catastrophic loss of pressure will cause your bodily fluids to begin to boil within seconds. So, there are some things you have to know and do before the Air Force takes you to the edge of space. Jay Ford will be the pilot for our mission. Confident, measured, calm, prepared, irreverent, funny.
Ejection, so our controlled ejection altitude, we want to be at least 2,000 feet above the ground. If for some reason the airplane goes out of control today, we want to eject immediately. We don't want to wait. No, but I'll let you know if that happens. So,
Please do.
yes. Physiological incident, so if at any time during the flight you're feeling bad or funny, or you just have any questions about, hey, why do I feel this way? Ask. Let me know. So, bad news does not get better with age. And especially if it's, bubbles in your brain and spinal column. So, we can do a little bit to fix those. So, let me know, and if you're having any sort of GI problems, let that gas out as it's starting to build up. Don't hold it in, and keep holding it, and then things can get messy. Yeah.
Thank you, mister. Appreciate it. Hi, guys.
Jump on in.
You want me in this one? All right.
I mean, everybody that comes out here is they're already a good pilot. So it's just a matter
You
of
like being
training.
alone.
I do.
Because
So,
you're up there by yourself for how long? Could be
12
10
plus
hours?
hours, yeah.
12 plus hours just flying.
So you get used to it to a certain extent, but yeah, it is hard on the body. So, but the altitude that you're at, that will be inside in the airplane is about 28 to 29,000 feet. So if you think about it, you're sitting on top of Mount Everest for,
Right.
you land and you feel like you got run over by a truck sometimes. So, and then
Is that one gonna?
Yep, he's going
That
out.
one leaving?
Yes, sir.
How are you? I'm Gary.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Darcy.
Thank you. Hi.
Welcome, sir. Name's Heather. Going to be teaching
Heather?
you about the full pressure suit today.
Fantastic. Thank you.
The physiology briefing is an attention getter, to say the least. I started learning what can happen to the body at altitude, and I was introduced to my newest best friend, my spacesuit.
Basically, open this guy up. You should be able to feel that it's open, and we go ahead and just add a little bit of air volume. Close off the suit just a little bit. You'll feel the suit. You don't want to fully inflate it, but just add a little bit of extra.
A loss of pressure in the airplane instantly makes the spacesuit my life support system. There are any number of dangers to humans at 70,000 feet, which can result in a very bad day.
Will somebody be asking me how I'm feeling, or and I'm just describing what's going on with me?
Absolutely, yeah. So Jessica's going to...
There's hypoxia, which is deficiency in the amount of oxygen reaching the tissues. At first you feel euphoric, just before you become totally incapacitated. Decompression sickness. This is what scuba divers call the bends. It too can be fatal. Altitude sickness. Illness caused by swift ascent to a high altitude, resulting in a shortage of oxygen, characterized by hyperventilation, nausea, and exhaustion. Heather Fox, the U-2 pilot who led the briefing, knows her subject and the symptoms all too well.
In about February 2009, was flying a op sortie over Afghanistan and started to feel bad with a decompression sickness. Basically started having symptoms of nausea, vertigo, a little trouble staying conscious, felt like I was going to pass out. So at that point, realized it was decompression sickness and started to turn towards my home base. Although ejecting at the location I was at probably would not have worked out very well. So at that point, the choice was to bring the aircraft back. It was about a 4-hour flight home, which was probably the worst 4 hours of my life, I must say, and just started the flight towards home. I will say that we've got folks up here doing this every day, and most of the time it goes well. So this isn't something that happens to a lot of folks, but it happened to me that day. But it's something we all know that's out there, and gladly do it to support the troops that we're supporting on the ground. It's something that we want to do.
They call getting fitted for your spacesuit integration, and it is a process.
So we're gonna get your helmet locked onto the suit. Bear with us. Okay.
They had some trouble fitting my face shield and seemed a little concerned about it for a while.
Now, so when you put the mask back on, just press on, because there's an aluminum strip around your face, so you might want to just press down so they actually conform to your face. I'm sorry? It should go like this.
And breathe. 1.1, 800. All right, that was successful. We're moving on. Yay!
The Barca lounges they use are really comfortable, but after you lie there for a few minutes, you have a little time to reflect. I remember one of the crew asking what I was thinking. To be honest, I was thinking, I'm glad my wife doesn't know all that's involved in this. You start getting ready to fly by pre-breathing pure oxygen. You do 10 or 12 minutes on the elliptical machine to really start sucking it in. This pre-breathing of pure oxygen eliminates the nitrogen from the blood and tissues, minimizing the risk of the bends I mentioned earlier. Once this process starts, you can't breathe normal air again. You have to hold your breath while putting your helmet on. Then carry the auxiliary unit with you, so you continue to breathe only pure oxygen. I was starting to get a bit tired, but my day was only beginning. To help me recognize the onset of hypoxia or other altitude-related illnesses, the team placed me in the altitude chamber.
3, 2, 1.
Testing flight level 300. There you go, good job.
The first thing that I'm looking for is make sure that he's feeling comfortable in the suit. He's comfortable moving around in it while it's fully inflated at altitude. That he knows where a lot of the things that Heather mentioned earlier today are, the vent air, the controller, how to be able to use that, how to be able to urinate, to be able to identify his hypoxia symptoms, because that's very important. There's not going to be anybody sitting back there with him, so he definitely is going to need to be able to identify those on his own.
Remember, you're talking to an actor.
Remember what I said about ear troubles? I really felt them in the chamber. Watch what happens to the beaker of water when the altitude simulated in the chamber reaches 60,000 feet. At that height, the air pressure is so low, your normal body temperature of 98.6 degrees will boil your own body's fluids. Things that make you think. Still not done. Now I have to learn the art of egress, getting out of the U-2 if something should go wrong on the ground or in the air. Of course, if you do find yourself hanging from a parachute at 70,000 feet, you also need to know how to control it. Ouch. This night, the leadership at Beale hosted a dinner for us. It is such an honor to be able to talk with these folks. They are the best in the world at what they do. I hope they understand the degree to which they all inspire and sustain the rest of us. All I can say is, God bless our troops. I retire a tired man. I feel like I've been drinking from an informational fire hose all day. It all kind of runs together. I don't know how much I actually remember. If something did happen, would I really be able to save myself? Well, there's no turning back. Tomorrow, I will visit a place I have never seen before and will likely never see again. It all starts to feel slightly surreal. I'm certainly ready to sleep. I only hope I can. In many ways, it's just another day at the office for my pilot, Jay Ford. Over a light breakfast, we went over the flight plan again. Essentially, we'll just be making a big loop over Northern California. The apprehension I took to bed last night has left me. Let's do this. Jay takes a final look at the anticipated weather. Great news. We're going to encounter severe clear. With a little luck, I might be able to see forever. Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for serving the USA. You folks are awesome. It's great to be here.
Thank you for your support.
You bet.
Have a safe flight, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Is it possible to feel like a veteran without actually having flown in the airplane yet?
Folks, we got a timetable to meet. We got someone to get into a suit, 2 people actually. Well, last night I was able to tell Mr. Sinise that our motto that we always cheer in big groups is very fitting for him today. But for his high flight today, we want to hook him up. Get high! There you go. Have a great flight. Thank you very
much. Yesterday, I had trouble with my gloves, my faceplate. I fumbled the fitting of those personal collection devices everyone always is so curious about when one is wearing a spacesuit. I worried about holding my breath long enough to put my helmet on and get the pure oxygen flowing through it. But today, well, I feel like I've been here before. In fact, I'm a little surprised at how much of my training I do recall. I'm ready. This is so cool. I admit it. I've always been a space groupie. When I was preparing to play astronaut Ken Mattingly in Ron Howard's Apollo 13, I got to meet Jim Lovell and a number of the astronauts. I met Gene Kranz, the flight director, who did so much to get that badly damaged craft and her crew home. I sat in the NASA mission control room where it all took place and let my imagination have its way. There was a space shuttle launch about the time we were starting to film. I just had to see it. I flew down to the Cape and just went out by myself to stand with the others who had gathered to watch. I was mesmerized. I watched the ignition, this great and terrible belch of smoke and fire coming from the huge nozzles at the bottom of the shuttle and its tanks. There was a slight delay while the sound and shock waves rolled across the water to the observation area. When they hit, I could literally feel them in my chest, clear to my heart. What an emotional experience. I'm truly sorry for anyone who did not have the opportunity to see a shuttle launch in person. As an actor, I'm used to playing parts. The spacesuit certainly brings back memories of roles I'd played. But this is no role. It is about to get very real. First, they integrate you into your spacesuit. Then you and your spacesuit have to be integrated into the airplane.
Press the button there.
I had to test my ability to reach those levers and handles I would have to pull if it became necessary to get out of the U-2 for any reason. There comes a moment when you have to arm your ejection seat. If you have to make an emergency exit, there is an explosive charge that literally blows your entire seat out of the plane with you in it. I was keenly aware that I was sitting on a bomb.
Your engine start is approved, cleared to Beale Airport as filed. On departure of flight runway heading, maintain flight level 230. Expect flight level 600 5 minutes after departure. NorCal departure frequency 353.7, squawk 4454. Tactile departure is on request.
And 4454 on the squawk for Opinion 902. Yeah, Opinion 92 is ready to taxi. We'll be making the right turn out of parking, proceed down to Bravo.
Opinion 92, make right turn out of parking. Runway 15, taxi via Golf, Bravo.
15 Golf, Bravo for Opinion 92. Off we go!
So begins a journey like none other I have ever taken. The traditional salute to the dedicated ground crew that keeps this extraordinary bird flying. I know the camera crews are out there somewhere. Whatever happens, there'll be pictures. And there are the chase cars. Funny thing about the U-2, it is flown by one pilot, but it can't actually be flown by one pilot. That's because when the U-2 tries to land, its high aspect ratio wings do not want to stop flying. The only way to get it back to the ground is by effecting a complete stall at just the right height over the runway. So other U-2 pilots in chase cars, called mobiles, must race along and tell the pilot in the plane exactly where he or she is in relation to the ground at every moment. Look at those incredible wings. They are so long they have to be supported by little wheels on the ends called pogo wheels. The pogos have to cleanly drop off as soon as the plane is airborne, and then be removed from the runway. That is why the chase car mobiles are needed on takeoff as well.
Two Bill Tower, stand by, sir. Two Bill Tower, short runway 15.
Holding short 15, Opinion 92. At Bravo, holding short ready.
Opinion 2, tactical departure approved, runway 15, 160 at 6, cleared for takeoff, change departure.
Tactical departure approved, cleared for takeoff, Opinion 92. Alright, you ready to go?
Roger that.
Ready as we're going to be. Alright.
We are cleared to go. I can't believe how the U-2 just pops into the air. An airliner needs 5,000 feet, a mile or so, to gain enough airspeed to take off. We're off in less than a tenth of that, only 400 or 500 feet. This U-2 is so smooth, I almost feel serene inside it. Yet the altimeter clearly shows it is climbing like a homesick angel.
Okay, good morning. Pinion 92 with you. 3,000 climbing 230.
Pinion 92, Dr. Bird, try to contact.
You looking outside?
Oh, yeah. Trigger 51 ready.
Hey, if you want to, you can open your T-block and do as you please at this point. You probably only get open a little bit. You get a pretty good amount of air through there.
It sounds strange to say it, but so far the flight feels like a relaxing breather from all the intense training I've been doing for it.
Oakland Center, good morning. Pinion 92 with you. 19.8 climbing 230 direct pinion.
Pinion 92, Oakland Center, climb out above flight level 600.
At or above 60, Pinion 92.
Jay has a mirror so he can see me. I didn't know until we got up there that that was the only way Jay and I could make eye contact. The altimeter continues to spin higher, higher.
So we're at almost 29,000?
Yep, just passing through 29, approaching 30. And we've been airborne for about 5 minutes.
That's fast.
Yeah. You went from the bottom of Mount Everest all the way to the top in 5 minutes, and I don't know, I think most people train for like 4 months to try and do that.
Your perspective really changes quickly. Man-made objects look like toys, if you can see them at all. Mountains start to look like sand dunes or snow mounds. Like Jay said, we are higher than Everest's 29,000 feet in no time. My cockpit sits about a foot higher than Jay's. That's why in level flight, I will be the highest person on Earth when we top out.
It's a pretty view up here.
Yes, it is. It gets better, too.
It's very special. So I can see how you get a little hooked on this.
Yeah, it's pretty darn special. Alright, so here's 45,000 feet. So we'll just continue to set new personnel altitude records for you for the rest of the day.
That did not take long.
No. Alright, so there's 50,000 feet, or cabin altitude, so your body it's sitting at is at 24,000 feet, almost 25. So we'll gain over another 20,000 feet, but cabin altitudes can only go up about another 5.
Very comfortable right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Pinion 92 passing 52,000 feet in the green.
Airbox copies in the green. Mobile copies in the green, have a good flight.
Thank you.
Where are you from, Jay?
I'm from Georgia originally. I grew up there, born in Albany, down to the south, and we moved north of Atlanta when I was 2.
And you joined the Air Force when?
1998. So I went to the Air Force Academy out in Colorado Springs, and got my degree in computer science. And I went to Mississippi for a year for pilot training at Columbus Air Force Base, and then moved back to Georgia, to Robbins Air Force Base, down by Macon, and I was there for 4.5 years before I came here. Okay, well, fairly. Yep, there's 60. So we are now well above the space equivalent zone where if we didn't have the suit and we stepped outside, you'd boil to death. Followed shortly thereafter by freezing to death, since it's almost minus 60 degrees centigrade outside.
Well, let's stay inside.
Yeah, I like that idea.
The U-2 is not an easy airplane to fly. The thinner the atmosphere, the faster the plane has to go in order for the wings to provide adequate lift. To maintain the required airspeed at 70,000 feet, the U-2 has to fly at the top edge of its speed envelope. If it drops by even 5 or 10 knots, the wing can stall. If that happens, the plane can become uncontrollable. U-2 pilots call this narrow operating window the coffin corner.
This is incredible. Wow.
Yeah, it really is. It never gets old. Best view in the world.
Getting a little darker up there.
Yes, it is. Yeah, if you look up towards the sun, the sky is pretty much totally black up there. And then as you look closer to the Earth, where most of the atmosphere is, since we're above most of it now, you get that nice thin blue line of all the stuff that keeps us alive. But do stay hydrated.
Okay, I'll keep drinking. I'm making movies back here.
Awesome.
We are really up here. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Coming up on 66,000. Well, can you see that the Earth is indeed round?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Just, you get almost speechless.
Yeah, using words to describe what it feels like and looks like to be up here is just not adequate.
It's just so smooth. It feels like a glider. I have to remember to stay hydrated while I'm up here. At 70,000 feet, we are twice as high as any airliner I have ever flown in. There is a vastness out there that I can feel to the depths of my being, but that I cannot describe in words. I fully understand why some astronauts have felt compelled to become writers and painters. At some point, even the prominent geographic features on Earth, like mountains and large lakes, become so small you almost feel like you are leaving them behind. When you travel to the outer edge of everything you have ever known, a sense of isolation starts to set in. I thought of the expression, Mother Earth, we use so glibly, and it suddenly seemed deeply profound.
Mom, I'm home.
Fantastic. Alrighty.
Incredible. Wow. Look at that reception party.
People are here.
I return to God's good earth a different person. I leave Beale Air Force Base a far richer man. Emerson wrote that there is no history, only biography. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of biographies attached to the U-2 Dragon Lady. From Kelly Johnson to Francis Gary Powers to Jay Ford. There have been thousands of dedicated airmen on the ground that have kept her flying. There are countless gallant soldiers who are alive today because a U-2 was there to tell them what awaited them over the next sand dune. I leave Beale, as I leave so many military bases, with a deep and profound appreciation for those who serve our country in harm's way. Remember, this is an all-volunteer force. These are men and women who believe so deeply in the core principles of America, they willingly offer their lives to defend them. No greater love has any man or woman than to lay down his or her life for another. I thought about that up there on the purple edge of space with my life in Jay Ford's hands. And I thought about it when I touched back down on the ground after seeing the Earth in a way I had never seen before and will likely never see her again. I'm Gary Sinise, and that was my high flight. I wish you could have been there.
Hi, I'm Gary Sinise. I hope you enjoyed High Flight. And for information about the Gary Sinise Foundation's mission to serve and honor the needs of our defenders, veterans, first responders, their families, and those in need, please visit our website at www.GarySiniseFoundation.org. Thank you.